Welcome to this week's episode of Your Stock Request for the 6th of May. Hi, I'm Gable, Managing Director at Fairmont Equities. Your Stock Request is the weekly video where I take your requests and analyse the share price charts. This week we have Emico, PPK Group, Westpac, Wesfarmers and Strike Resources. So if you have a request, send it through. Make sure you're getting the free newsletter every week, but our best ideas are in the Dynamic Investor Report every Tuesday, so make sure you are getting that report. But if you do enjoy these videos, we'd love you to share them on social media or even leave us a review. Our core business, of course, is portfolio management. If you'd like to open a broking account with us and have me call you each time we believe there's an opportunity, then please let me know and I can explain how that all works. And all the advice here, of course, is general only. So we'll look at a daily chart of Emico. So we can see that there was some strong resistance near $1.20. As I zoom in, we could see that we had a break in February, but it seemed to be a false break because it got smashed down straight away, and also we could see that sort of tried to break, got hit, and then by the end of February it was then breaking to the downside instead. So broke to the downside, came back up, tried to retest and failed. So that was, I guess, the next sell signal, the next signal that things weren't going to work out with this particular one. So the shares continued to slide, and then we could see last week it sort of gapped up and closed on its high, which was quite encouraging. It hasn't followed through, it has eased back here instead. But look, I think as long as it stays above 90 cents, if this is telling us that a low is in place at 90, then obviously 90 needs to hold, and if it drifts under that, I wouldn't want to be in it. So look, if that happens, then it should be able to head higher. Obviously there's a lot of, I think, resistance levels nearby, which will make the going tough. I mean, $1 looks like an obvious level, and then we've got near $1.10. So might not be getting a lot of upside, but initial signs are encouraging. PPK, so if we zoom out a bit, I mean, it's a great looking trend. We've got, typical sort of impulsive moves, big correction, then a big breakout, another correction, and then the break there. So, I mean, in terms of most recently, there's been a few sort of buying opportunities. I mean, we've got this sort of consolidation. This gap up here was one buying opportunity, retest, kept going. Moving beyond the old high here, another buying opportunity. So I think the best buying opportunities are behind it, and now it's getting a bit extended up here. So after making this move up here, it hasn't sort of gone all the way back down. It's sort of traded within that daily range, which is okay. So it looks like a hold for now. I think in terms of a buying opportunity, I'd like to see it clear this old high. So when there's no resistance, I'd treat that as a buying opportunity, or we might end up getting another long consolidation, and then the break from that will be the opportunity. So right here, not a buy, but it's okay as a hold. Westpac, so looked like most banks, as we could see, it's trended pretty well, especially just this last 6 months where they've really started to recover nicely. Most recently, we've had this sort of clear consolidation. The gap up a few days ago was a positive, clearly. Gapping up, closing on its high, good volume. Sure, it hasn't kicked on, but it's holding in there. So, broadly speaking, that's good. In terms of what it can do from here, well, if we just move over to a weekly chart and zoom out, I mean, you could see despite the last few months, the banks have been a very poor performer over the last 5 or 6 years. But if we sort of measure that long-term decline with our Fibonacci tool, we could see that it's coming up right to the 50% retracement. So, could be a bit of resistance here. Obviously, we've got the ex-div coming up, so maybe Westpac goes up for another couple of days, but that's all it's got. And then the next level, if we're looking at the 61.8, I mean, that seems to be an obvious turning point for Westpac, which is near $30. So I think they're the key levels to look for. Wesfarmers, so we'll go daily, zoom back in. In terms of most recently, over the last several weeks, we've had this sort of pullback here, but then we've had sort of a tightening up of a range and then a sort of a push high here. So for me, that would have been a buying opportunity. It's come up to test, I'll just zoom in a bit more. So it's come up to test the February peak. Naturally, it slows down for a bit of resistance there, a bit of selling. So look, it's coming back here. It doesn't, to me, it's not a sell, but it really needs to stay up here. So I don't want to see it come deep back into this range. So if you're looking at a range, if you're looking at this range here, I want to see it basically not really, I don't want to really see it head any further to the downside. So I want to see it hold up here just under this high. So if we see it consolidate here over the next few weeks and hold up pretty well between sort of 54, 56, then that would be a very bullish sign. But if it starts to drift back deeply into the range, I think that would be a bit of a concern. Okay, and finally, Strike Resources. So this one's been trading really well. We had this in the Dynamic Investor back in January. So we noted this sort of classic cup and handle breakout. So it's had a run, come back to retest the breakout. And basically we could see this consolidation here. So consolidation that we've got here is now over, of course, because it broke higher last week. And that was the next buying opportunity. Look, shorter term does look a bit weak. I don't like this sort of bearish, what we call bearish engulfing pattern, where it opened higher, then closed all the way down here, and it hasn't really made much progress since. So I'd have a stop just here under the breakout. And obviously, if you bought on the breakout here and you get stopped out here, well, it's only a small loss there if you're still in it. But in terms of buying it, it'd be nice to see it sort of find proper support on top of this line, and then it'd be ready to get going again. So I suppose one just to keep an eye on. All right, well, that's all for this week. If you have a request, send it through. I'll try to look at it next Thursday.